since ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa was elected, he's been vocal about cleaning up the ruling party's image. At his recent state capture inquiry appearance, he said the party's reform agenda was important to win back disillusioned supporters. And this week, 4 years since his election, letters were sent to members impacted by the step-aside resolution, chief among them, of course, Secretary General Ace Magashule. Magashule, who faces a string of corruption and money laundering charges over the Free State asbestos scandal, has now been suspended. But is unity in the ANC still possible? Let's unpack the story now. We're joined by the ANC's head of presidency, Sibongile Besani. Sibongile, it's great to have you with us this morning on the show. What a discussion it is, because where do we begin? The fact that this suspension has now come into effect since yesterday, in terms of the Secretary General Ace Magashule being suspended by the party just yesterday. It's been a long back and forth road to get to that point.
Good morning, and thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Look, your earlier question about whether unity is possible. It is possible in the ANC. We have experience to demonstrate the possibility of unity. As an organization more than 100 years, obviously we've gone through lows and highs, and we have experience of managing some of these things, and they are not easy to manage. Any implementation of the ANC resolution, conference resolution, ANC decisions strengthens the party, and any president who presides over implementation of ANC resolution is on the right course.
Look, there's a reason why it's taken the party this long to actually act on its step-aside resolution, isn't it? There must have been fears that a decision like this, to suspend arguably the second most powerful person in the party in the form of the Secretary General, there's a reason why it took that long to act on that decision.
True. At the Zondo Commission last week, President indicated that some of the decisions took time to be implemented because of, the power of balance, or the balance of power within the organization, and which is about also contestations that are there. So we have not been hiding the fact that there are contestations in the ANC, but what is critical is that the president demonstrated quite clearly that the ANC has been able to arrive at a point where it had to act, and there is broad agreement in the ANC that it has to act against malfeasance, and we're at that point now, and we're looking forward towards ensuring that the ANC's program of unity and renewal takes off the ground, and the president has been quite clear on that, and that sense of clarity resonates with many members of the African National Congress.
I mean, many newspapers this morning, Sibongile, are saying that this signals the president's reform agenda finally taking off in the party. Is this also a calculated move, given that we are in a local government election year?
No, it's not really about elections. It's not really about elections. You would remember even last year, the NEC had to issue a statement, the officials had to issue it around September and so on. It has been about the best way to implement resolutions of conference. So we're at that point, and it's a point where some of these things cannot be sort of postponed or delayed, so to say, for lack of a better word. But it demonstrates that the ANC's commitment to unity and renewal it's a project that must be implemented in earnest. And of course, we are aware of the fact that it's a very painful project, because it brings about change. Change is not easy. Change is quite difficult. The President has even demonstrated through a legend of the eagle last week at the Zondo Commission on how painful is change. And sometimes it even affects those who actually advocate for change. So we're at that point, quite frankly. And it is the ANC's decision that the renewal of the African National Congress cannot be postponed any longer. And it's not an easy process.
I mean, it's a difficult moment for the governing party, isn't it? Because You say it's not about elections, but the truth of the matter is that the ANC, we're in a local government election year now, so let's talk about those polls. The ANC has suffered in local government elections in terms of its numbers in many ways. It did suffer as well in the polls at the last national election. And so the issue of unity and renewal, these are two goals that can be at odds with each other. Because the question then is, does renewal come at the cost of unity within the party? And how does that then impact the fabric of the governing party?
In the first instance, is that it's a fact that our electoral fortunes have been decreasing. But if we are not acting as the ANC is acting now, people will say, no, it's because of elections. If it was last year, people will say, no, we said we wanted to, we talked about corruption, now we're not acting about it. It's just a promise that we made during the previous election, we wanted votes. So it is that kind of a situation. But it's never about election. The reality here is the ANC acknowledges the challenges that it faced in terms of its image, and it is beginning to act. And it is acting so in such a way that it implements its constitution, its decisions, and nobody should be above them. So it has to implement that fairly to everybody. And we are going through that. So basically it will affect anybody, everybody, every one of us, whoever is affected. And of course, unity and renewal have got those kind of contradictions, but it does not mean in contradictions you can't move forward. That is why, as we do renewal does not have to happen for its own sake. It has to achieve something. One thing that has always made the ANC stronger is unity. At the founding moment of the ANC, unity was the basis upon which it is founded. And from time to time, it has been demonstrated that without unity, the ANC has nowhere to go. So when we do renewal, of course, we want to achieve unity, and we know it is a process. It is not a one-day event and so on. So we're alive to the contradictions that comes with it, but we are also experiencing the fact that it is achievable.
Speaking of things that are achievable this morning, Sibongile, the alignment of the corruption narrative in South Africa and how closely it is linked to the governing party's own narrative. As we talk about the renewal of the party, how clean does the slate need to be wiped? How many people need to go so that the ANC is no longer the party of corruption, as we, again, talk about renewal in the ANC?
I think it is not how many people have to go, so that we are clean. The issue here is that we have to act quite decisively against corruption, and that is the mandate of the conference. And once we act decisively, once we act without hesitation, the hopes of our people will be restored, because the ANC is a leader of society. And it is in our action, in our commitment to act, that we begin to inspire confidence in our people. You would have seen that the fact that we went to the Zondo Commission through the president, South Africans were quite impressed with that. Here is an organization that is in power and owning up to its limitations and shortcomings. That is a good starting point, because you begin to understand the fact that we are sincere, we are genuine. So it's not about how many people have to leave, have to go and so on, but it is the fact that we're beginning to act, and we have to act decisively.
So let's talk about the suspension of the party's Secretary General then. Ace Magashule has gone on record to say that he has appealed his suspension, and thus he remains Secretary General until that appeal is dealt with. So tell us this morning, what is the status of Ace Magashule insofar as his position is concerned?
Well, I wouldn't know if I've seen that whether it's a statement or what, where there's indication that he has appealed. But I think it's fair if a person has appealed and so on. But what is important right now is that the NEC last month took a decision that those who are indicted in the courts of law should be given 30 days to voluntarily step aside, and failure to do so. That decision was taken further to say then we should invoke a temporary suspension, which is Rule 25.70, and that is where we are now. So the NWC has now, after getting the reports from provinces and all over the country, it has endorsed the implementation, because that's the duty of the National Working Committee, to implement decisions of the NEC. And that is where we are. That is why, in the light of that decision of the NWC, the Deputy Secretary General has written a letter. And it had to be the Deputy Secretary General because it is, in this instance, one of the people affected is the Secretary General. Let me hasten to say, the ANC at various levels has traveled this journey before. At some stage, personally, I was the Deputy Provincial Secretary of the ANC in the Free State. And the PC took a decision to recall the Provincial Secretary. So, as the Deputy Secretary, I had to be the one who communicates the decision of the PC, of the structure, not my decision, to the Provincial Secretary. And it was implemented.
So as it stands, the long and short of it, Ace Magashule is suspended from all party activities.
The ANC has issued a statement yesterday, and in that statement, it has called upon the Secretary General to actually respect the decisions of the organization. And I think that is adequate. It is adequate because I suppose this is a decision or a conduct that has to be ventilated, hopefully the NEC and so on. So I will just restate that statement. I think it is adequate that the decisions of a structure must be respected. You must remember, anybody who gets temporarily suspended in terms of this conference resolution, you invoke Rule 25.70. That Rule 25.70 is very clear. It says you are temporarily suspended because you are indicted in the courts of law. And the structure, the NEC, the NWC has a right, the authority to do so. So you can't use 25.70 willy-nilly. You use it against people who are indicted in the courts of law. Currently, the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, is not indicted for corruption, for anything in the courts of law.
Sibongile, thanks for that clarity. We appreciate it. He is head of presidency, the ANC's head of presidency, Sibongile Besani, joining us there via our video link this morning. What a moment it is for the governing party, its Secretary General, in a first for this 109-hold organization. In a first, its Secretary General has now been suspended. Jesse Duarte handing him that suspension letter. In fact, it's a big developing story that we'll continue to unpack for you as we ourselves try to understand the inner workings of the ANC.